And happy to welcome in now former Bills wide receiver who is a very busy man, doing some mentorship and athlete empowerment, which we'll get into in just a bit. But we also want to talk to one Stevie Johnson about some of his work with Bills' current receiver, Keon Coleman. So we welcome in Stevie now. And always good to see you, Stevie. Hope things are well with you and the fam. I did want to begin with some of this work you've been doing with Keon, because Josh Allen, and I don't know if you heard the quote, but it must have brought a smile to your face, because unsolicited, he said, one area where I've seen Keon improve from last year is with his releases, and that is one of the primary things I think you were working on with Keon. How would you describe Keon as a student?
I felt like he was the total opposite what I was expected to work with, because I never talked to Keon. I never had a personal relationship with him. I just assumed that he listens to the media and he would hear me when I speak on the Buffalo End Zone post game, so he can better his game. So I never had a real relationship with him. And what I heard was, he's coming to meetings late. He's always having fun. It looks like he could care less when he was a healthy scratch. And then when I actually got to meet him, it was the total opposite. He was a masterful student of the game, and that's where it kind of clicked, because we didn't only work on like the physical and the release, worked on a lot of things mentally. And when I realized the type of student he was, it just it took us to another level of our communication and relationship.
Give us an idea of what his skill set. Certainly he's big, strong receiver, but give us an idea of where his skill set, where the strength of his skill set is. Is it catch radius? Is it releases? Is it speed? Give us an idea of what you saw in him that, gave you some wow, this guy's really good at this.
Pass. He can be the best. He can be considered one of the best because he has every tool. He's got the height. He's got the size. He's got the speed. He's got it so much to the point where people kind of overlook it now because they've seen all of the great traits. They just want to see it always on Sunday. And that's pretty much what we worked on, how to make it happen, make it show on Sunday. And let me just get straight to it. It's because it's difficult to explain the type of work we did. And considering you asked this question about what type of student Keon is, all right, he's so much of a great student that he gets himself covered up in the sense of when you watch the film, I say, Keon, look at Josh and look at how much time does Josh have, instead of just looking at your route and trying to be the best student and running the route at 15 yards. Josh only got time really for you to stop that route at about 8 to 10. So I need you to refocus on being who you are as an athlete to help Josh, not to be the best student of the game. You know what I mean? Like, oh, hey, coach, you wanted at 15? I ran it at 15. And he's so much of a great student that he's going to run it at 15, go try to run it his hardest. But within doing all of that, he's still losing his leverage on certain DBs. He's still working too hard to beat people that's already fearful of this 6'4", 213, or however much he weighs. But this kid is he's got all the tools. Catch radius, he can catch it anywhere because he's athletic. So that's why I say he can be one of the best. It was just about, reconfirming what he was before he went to the Buffalo Bills. And just a little bit more. It's like, hey, Steve, Tess, look, when you go to the league, you have to be a pro, right? So he wanted to be the best pro. He got to go back to playing ball, and that's what he can do, and that's what he'll show.
Yeah, it's one of the things, you mentioned it, and it's one of the things that, when I got a chance to place a little wide receiver, one of the things that helped me be really good is you got to make the quarterback want to throw you the ball, right? And you were really good at this. I mean, you gave the quarterback exactly what they were looking for. And we say student of the game and knowing the plays and all that, that's all important. But the more important aspect of it, and you touched on it, is you got to know what your quarterback wants. And that's really, if you want to unlock the door to getting a lot of targets, that's how you do it. Is that right?
Absolutely right. There's a play, if you guys want to look back at it's a Baltimore Raven game where he went the full depth of his route, but Josh was ready for him just a little bit earlier. And I know on tape, it says go this distance. And this is the conversation that me and him was having. Like, you got to break that rule. You know, you got to go, not to be disrespectful to your coach, because Coach Brady he's a solid dude. He's pretty much of the new generation of route running and receiver styles. So he'll understand that you go sacrifice that extra 5 yards in what the play told me to do and stop earlier for my quarterback, and I have to go put the work in to go get that extra yardage, you know, and that's where the yak will come. And that's where his 300 extra yards will come from, and being available, you know, as obviously we talked about the off-field antics and how to, you know, just be available. And that was another thing we worked on also.
Yeah, and to your point about Joe Brady, I think he would be supportive of that, because what we hear from Coach Brady all the time is we just want to get completions. We just want to get completions. So if you're cutting that route off for the sake of getting a completion and getting in a better down and distance situation, I could see him being all for that. Question I have for you, though, Stevie, based on the work that you did with Keon, what gives you the greatest confidence that year 3 is when he'll be able to put it all together, where we do see it on a week after week after week more consistent basis?
Great question, CB. And honestly, we don't know. You know, he's still got to go out and put all of his tools together each week and make it happen. But what gives me great confidence is like how we started this interview off, and him being a student of the game. You know, there's a lot of things that happened to Keon, which I told him, you was in the fire. You know, you was in the fire through media. You was in the fire at the facility within the doghouse type things. But you never retaliated. You never went out there and did you know, what do you call it, when you subtweeting or things like that. He never did none of that. So that showed me that this kid is more mature than people are giving him credit for. And then obviously we go into the athleticism. And I mean, like I said, I feel like he can be one of the best, the skills that he has. So I feel like he's been through the fire. All he has to do is implement these little things for Josh and for himself, and just be available. And you should have at least 600 yards off top. He's had 400 yards each of his seasons, and he missed 6 games. Not to mention, he was 20 years old coming into the league. He's 23 in his 3rd year. When we was 20, come on now, we gonna make some little mistakes. I'm glad that he's not making the mistakes that half of the league is making. You know what I mean? At this age, so you know, a lot of people just gotta overlook some things. But it's constructive criticism, I would say. Give him that as opposed to tearing him down, because we know what he can do. He's shown it. He just gotta, you know, he's more mature now.
You also made it known there's another Bills receiver that you kind of like what might happen to him in Buffalo, and that's Skyler Bell, the draft pick this year. Tell us what your thoughts are about him and what he might bring to the table.
Skyler Bell, amazing athlete. When I looked at him, he's got similar traits as Stephon Diggs, as DJ Moore. You know, at the same skills that they got, Keon will have that in his game also. But when we just speaking specifically about Skyler Bell, I mean, he comes in as a mature player, 23 years old. You know, he's had an offense where he had plenty of balls and targets and reps and situations. So that's one thing that you cannot sleep on. A player with experience within a situation. All he's got to do right now is let the game slow down. And that's another option like DJ Moore on the left side or the right side for Josh. I honestly feel like the Buffalo Bills got one of the best wide receiving cores in the NFL when it comes down to style and skill wise.
You mentioned Coach Brady, you know, now at the helm, and I know there's a lot of Bills fans out there who openly wonder how the offense might morph and change, because since he's taken over, obviously on an interim basis as OC in 23, and then the last 2 years as the permanent offensive coordinator, the Bills have leaned heavy into the run game, and I realize James Cook's talents are a reason for that, as well as, you know, having a top 5 O-line in the league, and, you know, last year they lead the league in rushing, and Cook does. So I understand leaning that way, but I think all the advanced analytics have said the most effective way to move the ball and score points is by throwing it. So with Sean McDermott no longer an influence on play calling, could you see an offense this year with Joe Brady as head coach where they're throwing the ball maybe a bit more than we've seen the last couple of years?
All right, CV, look. As much as we want to, and I'm a receiver, I still say run it. Don't change it up. He's had a hot offense through the run game. Like you said, you tie in the offensive line. That's a whole other dynamic. Um, and yeah, as much as I want to see my guys get 100 yards receiving and 13 catches, that's really not the way to go. Save it for later. That's what we need depth for, and that's what we need those track stars to be healthy is at the end of the season. Not really putting on early. So we've shown that we can run the ball. We got Ty Johnson, Ray Davis, who also can run and catch. And that also ties into the receivers, where the fans go have to, you can't argue at one thing and then be cheerful with another. When you run the ball as great as we do, targets aren't going to be out there. They shouldn't be out there. And, that's pretty good that we have a wide receiver group that's not selfish or ill-intended mentally thinking about themselves. Keon, as much as he want to prove himself to be the best, I know I keep circling back to him. I really believe in him. But he also understands, hey, I got James Cook, the leading rusher, and I got Josh Allen, who's the best dual threat quarterback. So targets ain't gonna be the most, but I need to make the most out of the targets I get. And this is how I can elevate my yak and my my help for this team, through not disrespecting the coach again, but running the routes how how for your quarterback. And that's the game within the game.
I mean, I threw a lob to a former receiver, and I thought he was just going to dunk it, and he went completely the other way on me there. I can't believe that just happened.
There are, Stevie, there are a bunch of guys, now, a bunch of teams now, particularly with the advent of lighter guys in the box defensively, lighter linebackers, faster linebackers for covering guys, getting out and playing in space. There is some room now, as the Bills were kind of at the forefront of it, of getting heavy and throwing some guys or handing the ball off a little bit more and forcing the defense to bear up. Does that, for you, and particularly over the fact of your career, does that change the way wide receivers are viewed? I mean, certainly they're supposed to get open. They're going to do that, but they're getting called to do some more run blocking, a little bit more old school stuff. How have you seen that change for wide receivers league-wide in their role and how this run-pass ratio and the lighter boxes and defenses are changing and the lighter players and the positionless players in the secondary? How does that change for wide receivers and how they prepare and what's asked of them?
Yeah, that's another solid one, a deep question, because we've seen years of many targets, and you call for the ball, you go get it, let's see what you got. And now, as the shift is starting to happen with the run game, is making receivers be more situational ready. And what I mean by that is you might not get all of the targets now, but we're going to need you later on in this game or on this third down in this situation, or we're trying to come back. We need to cut this in half. We need you now, as opposed to I'm just going to start feeding it to you. I'm going to get it out to you and throw it to you, which we have a great chemistry in our receiver and quarterback room because of guys like Khalil Shakir and guys like DJ Moore have shown to be extended handoffs. So we can still get those passes out, and Coach Brady is smart enough to do that. He's shown that. But overall, as a receiver in this world that I see in now, you got to be situational ready. And the way to win that is no tendencies and read film.
One of the topic of discussion we have for today's show, Stevie, I kind of want you to weigh in on this a little bit. I realize your window of time with the Bills is a finite amount of years, but we've been asking the fans who they feel is the most underrated receiver in team history, and we've had some interesting names given, some of the old school fans given some names from the past, and Steve was saying Molds. I said, I don't know how Molds is underrated. Guy went to like 3 Pro Bowls. It was second team All-Pro, but he played at a tough time during a tough era, much like you did. But does a name come to mind for you, like a guy that was just underrated and not thought of all that much, but was a much better player than given credit for?
Well, I can't go too far thinking right now, but I'm going to go with Mac Hollins, of recent past. I think he was a better receiver than he got traded after his stint here, and I felt like he should have been here because he was great at structuring routes for others. He had the charisma on and off the field. He worked hard. He had the size. He had the hands. I mean, I felt like he had everything to build a great receiver group around, on and off the field. So I just want to make that easy with Mac Hollins.
All right.
Yeah, I know you had something to say about Joe Brady and how he's going to run pass. I got one other question. The Bills have been right there for 6 years. I mean, and it's led to a head coaching change. You spoke about your thoughts on Joe Brady. I was going to say, what are your thoughts about, they promoted from within to get the head coach. They didn't need to throw out everything. They didn't need to tear it down to the studs. They were going to, and the expectations are they're going to be right there again this year. What can a head coach do, like during the long run up to the playoffs, through the regular season? What are some of the subtle things that a head coach will do that will make a difference long term, so that this team, they don't lose 2 games in a row during the regular season? That and some games you end up winning by double digits instead of having it close and hanging on by a thread, or maybe losing a close one where you should have won the game. What are some of the subtle things a head coach can do for a team as a leader to make those things spin your way instead of just missing?
I would say from a Warriors perspective, you gotta leave the humble talk at the crib with the fam. Step into the facility when it's time to talk to the guys and keep them in that savage mode. You gotta continue to show them, hey, you gotta still prove it to these people. You still gotta, even if you went on a 12-game win streak, et cetera, coming in and being humble is gonna make you super calm. And I know that's what they say in the world and all that, but in the game within the game, you got to be a dog and you got to be hungry. And I think Brady is a great catalyst considering everything that I've heard. Because first I wasn't on board with this, but then I did some research and I see that now Brady's going to be free to do what he wants to. And my subtle tip is to keep that dog mentality in them. Even if y'all be successful, keep them hungry.
Now, we also want to keep people up to date on kind of what you're doing. We know you've done some high school coaching, but you're also got a mentorship and an athlete empowerment organization set up now called HBHF, which we all know is Handle Business Have Fun. How has it grown, and in what direction are you taking it now?
Yeah, it's grown tremendously, especially in communities, not just in my hometown. I'll just start with Buffalo with a shout out to our collaboration with the YMCA and William Emsley. We do our community giveaway every August and back to school drive with Poncho's Army, and that's all a part of the mentorship. It's everything to me is my passion more than even being a coach. I would love to be in the NFL as a mentor, for the Buffalo Bills, for any team, because as we see in this world, yeah, our skills and our sports life will be for X amount of time, but then you still got a whole life to live. And how are you going to manage? Are you prepared for when you transition off the field? And a lot of people, yeah, I'm ready for it. The NFL got this and that for me, which they do. The NFL set up with a lot of things, but there's still a lot of conversations that goes missing because of the connection between personnel. And HBHF is that mentorship really for athletes, parents, and any pro athlete that's transitioning or going into the game, just to have them prepared and sparked. So it's been pretty well.
So
man.
how do parents interested in maybe getting their kids involved kind of get on board with you? Where can they look, online or somewhere?
Yeah, so we got hbhf.com, or you can get onto our new app, which is cooleyhigh.com, which is COOLIE-HI.com. And there is registry for free, and you can connect with mentors, post videos, and just get educated on the world around sports.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on all the stuff you're doing for the young people coming up behind us, and it's really great to see. I got to ask you as well. I don't know, it's months in advance. If you're like me, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, but I hope you get a chance to come out and see a game in the new place. Have you actually seen it, been through it? What are your thoughts on the new place and what it might mean to the team?
Yeah, I mean, I know it means a lot. I haven't been there. I haven't seen it, the inside physically, but I know it's a testament to a lot of the work that was put in from your squad, and everyone else in the franchise. But it's a testament also to the city. The support and the loyalty. There was times where the team was headed over to Canada, which it wouldn't be so bad. Got great connection with Toronto, but being here and reestablishing the new home in Orchard Park, I mean, it's great, and it's just hopefully it's time for that Super Bowl, considering all the work that was put in these past 50 years, I would say. What is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Fitzy maybe can get you a pass for the home opener since he's working it on Thursday Night Football against the Lions. So
Yeah, there
maybe
you
he
go.
can hook you up with something because we know he'll be here. The guy bought season tickets. He did a tour. He got so inspired. He said he bought season tickets. Guy lives in Arizona, so maybe hit him up for a ticket and he can
There
get
you
you in
go.
the seats there.
Good
Indeed,
stuff.
Indeed. That's the type of guy he is. But big shout out to the Buffalo Bills community, the Bills Mafia, the Bills backers. I mean, you see what's going on around the league with a lot of guys when they get out, they don't really have a community. And I just I thought about that yesterday, considering situations I learned. And it's like I was just thankful that I was still able to do a lot of things, traveling, being involved with the teams and things like that, because a lot of teams don't really have that connection. They got people that's sending emails, but this Bills Mafia is something special. So shout out to the family and the fan base.
All right, I think Stevie froze up there right at the last minute. But, Stevie, if you could still hear us, thanks for the time. We appreciate it as always. Good luck with that mentorship and athlete empowerment program. HBHF is the name of it, and you can go right online and look it up and get some stuff. Stevie, you're back with us, so I'm just going to say goodbye real quick. Thanks for the time, buddy. Always good to catch up with Stevie, who's always doing good things off the field. Appreciate you.
One love.